Good evening. Welcome to Nourish the Soul. I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host. I am so glad to be here. I'm so excited to bring you on a journey. Are you guys all ready to awaken to your true well being, really unlock a deeper understanding of yourself? It's a real pleasure to be here, a real honor to be able to have a platform to share my voice. And so I invite you to sit back and really go inwards, really find that place within you, perhaps within your heart, to just go deeper so that you can go on an extraordinary journey of self discovery with me this evening, because that's what Nourish the Soul talk radio show and podcast is all about. It's here to awaken you to a deeper sacred wisdom within yourself. We all have wisdom within. We have knowledge and experience. We have something that wants to be expressed through us. And so we want to give ourselves that opportunity to go within, to tap into our inner temple, to be able to access that inner wisdom. And I love to, as a sacred coach, as a transformational coach and teacher for others, I love to guide people into their hearts. I feel as though our hearts are a sacred gateway. And so I want to invite you, as I do often, many times where I have solo podcasts, to just drop into the heart. Let's take a few moments before we get into today's podcast, Awaken Joy, Unlock True Happiness. And together, let's take nice, big, deep breaths in, filling our whole body up with our breath as much as you can. And just hold for a few moments with your breath, feeling it circulating through your lungs, your belly, into your head. And just, with a nice big sigh, letting it go. Let's do that one more time. A deep breath in, really pulling that breath in, really feeling it expand and circulate throughout your lungs, your shoulders, your belly, down your legs, up through your head. And just, ah, letting it all go. Letting go, thinking of letting go all of the day, all the stress, all the worry, any hard work, anything you were involved in. And then, if you can, place a hand on your chest and close your eyes and just begin to bring your inward focus from your third eye towards the center of your chest, your focus to your heart center. And set the intention you are seeking to awaken a light within your heart now. And as you seek, you shall find. And so just becoming aware and present to the light at your heart, whether it is just a spark or just perhaps even blazing so bright. Set another affirmative action here with your words as you say, I am now connected to the light at my heart. I am now connected to this light, this truth, my soul self, who I really am. I'm connected. And feel that connection. Really start to feel the vibration of the light within your heart center meeting your hand that lies upon your chest. The light at my heart is connected to the divine's heart, an incredible light force of energy that has created everything, that creates this beautiful planet in which we live on, all the animals, all the plants, everything we are able to sustain ourselves with, it creates, and even more. This incredible light, the source, has created our human bodies, every single aspect of them, from our eyelashes to the texture of our skin, to our hair, to our shape, to all of the trillions of cells within its system. And just knowing that there's no separation between yourself and the divine's heart. It's light within its heart, and you, there's no separation. You are quite literally one. You are a spark of the divine in human form, come to express itself in this life. You call you. I call Elizabeth. And as we get present to this, we start to allow all of the day's work, stress, anxiety, pressure, any noise, any connection we have to anybody else just dissolve away. This is your time. And you will, as you affirm, I'm here for a powerful reason. And I'm going to receive something truly that my heart desires from tonight's broadcast. I allow my heart to do the driving of this experience, to be the driver of this experience, to navigate this experience, to allow for me to expand in my understanding, my awareness of myself as a creator, as one with the heart of the divine in this human body, in this time space experience we call life here on planet Earth. In this presence, you become an embodiment of your truth, your soul, the spark of divinity, the heart itself. We can call it creator, God, intelligence, source. You are very powerful. We are powerful. We have a lot of power, a lot of power, a lot of potential. So I'm excited to be here and share a really beautiful message. You know, one of my greatest joys in life is to share the insights, share the experiences, share the journey I've been on, you know, perhaps so that as you hear my words, something within it really meets you in a certain way that allows for you to see something within yourself that you've been desiring or longing for. And I feel a lot of gratitude to be having, you know, to have that privilege, to have this ability to be here and to do this. So we're going to talk about joy and awakening joy and really unlocking happiness tonight. And, you know, I want to set the premise that joy and well-being and even prosperity, they all go hand in hand. They're symbiotic, meaning they work together. And so if we don't have joy, if we don't have happiness, if the glass is always half full, we are going to lack in much more than, you know, just material things, right? Or, you know, perhaps you could say fulfillment or satisfaction. We're going to lack in actually our health. And because of that, if we don't have our health, what do we really have? We're going to then lack in our ability to provide for ourselves, to feel a sense of support in life, to be able to enjoy the pleasures of life, because we may have to work really hard. There may be a lot of fear and worry about if we're going to be able to, you know, move past what we're experiencing within ourselves. Maybe that's headaches, foggy head, you know, foggy brain, or, you know, stomach issues, or, you know, autoimmune diseases, or, you know, going even farther and stretching into things like cancer. Those things can really, if we experience them, they can really impact our sense of abundance of this life, a sense of being provided for, of taken care of for, of having all that we need, right? So joy is one of the, you know, antidotes to curing all of that. You know, even people who are going through cancer treatment, they suggest, they recommend go watch happy, joyful things on the TV, you know, spend time with kittens and puppies. And, you know, if you can, watch people, you know, having fun or find ways to laugh, because joy is one of those emotions that actually it neutralizes heaviness, it neutralizes fear, it neutralizes any of that weighted energy, and it brings a sense of uplifting and you know, really a feeling of expansiveness and a sense of well-being. And that's exactly what prosperity is too. when your bank account feels full, you can purchase things and enjoy life and go and see it and, have kind of this, sense of, oh, I can take care of myself and have fun and go and see the things I want to see and take care of the things I want to and, take care of my health. There's this feeling of expansion and possibility. There's this feeling of well-being that, in tandem happens. So tonight we're going to talk about joy. And what we're going to do is we're going to, kind of understand, how do we, find joy? What is it, first of all? And how do we love what we do, right? Because when we love what we do, we feel happy, we feel joyful. Our well-being is obviously expanded. Our prosperity then expands because people can feel that within us and they want to come and spend time with us and get what we have, right? So, what is that? What is joy? What is loving what we do? What makes us happy? These are like lifelong age questions. And what if we could get the answer to all of that this evening? How to be happy, how to find joy, and to know what stops us from being happy right now. What if we could find the answer to that? Well, in tonight's broadcast, it's going to be, one of those what we call experiential podcasts, where you're going to maybe want to grab a journal or, re-listen to this in a quiet space. You can do that on Amazon and iHeartRadio and Stitcher and Spotify. And you're going to start to answer these questions and get a real clear understanding for yourself. What is joy? How do I unlock happiness? And even among these times that we're in, where people are going through a lot of their own personal struggles or collective kind of cultural struggles, we can find joy. So let's take a quick break and we'll get back and we'll dive right in.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on TalkRadio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on TalkRadio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.nyc.
If you don't have your health, what do you really have? It's time to feel good in your body and shift from struggle to ease. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host of Nourish the Soul, where we explore the sacred wisdom of your body while you sit back, relax, and go on a journey of self-discovery. Join me every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to awaken your heart, transform your well-being, and unlock a deeper understanding of yourself.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Welcome back. This is Nourish the Soul Talk radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Tripp. And on this podcast, we open up to the understanding that our body, it is this sacred temple. It is this temple of wisdom, and it has everything, all the answers to our struggle right here within it. And our body, it actually tells us when we're not happy. It tells us when we are not joyful. because what happens is the body actually starts to get sick and run down, starts to feel achy and painy. And, if we don't actually do something about that, if we don't get present to whatever it is that's taking our joy away, that we're allowing it to take away our joy or allowing our happiness to be something that's conditional for us, right? We start to actually experience, a lack of health and well-being. And with that lack, our whole life can actually become very hard, right? Because if we don't have our health, we don't feel like going to work, we don't feel like interacting with people, we can often need more sick time, staying inside, less interaction, less socialization. And this can really take a toll because we as humans, we crave connection. And actually, it's something that we truly desire and need in order to feel socially, right? Kind of comfortable and as though we have kind of outlets, right, to express ourselves. So these three things, they go hand in hand. So our bodies can let us know, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we're not in our alignment with our joy. We're going to talk about where joy comes from. So I want to share a little bit before I start today's topic. I can remember nearly a decade ago, I was not a joyful person at all. It was really just very difficult for me to feel a sense of happiness. And there was a time where I remember I was in New York City. I lived on West 78th Street near the Museum of Natural History. And I was laying in my bedroom. I had this tiny, tiny little bedroom. And I had one little window and it looked out onto a brick wall. I had no sunlight. Okay. So that says something about my psyche. But I I could hardly breathe. I remember laying on the bed and I felt this overwhelming feeling of mixed emotions. And it was the sense of excitement, and then there was the sense of worry. In about 24 hours, I was supposed to move in with my long-term boyfriend of 4 years. But suddenly, as I was laying on my bed here, I was feeling trapped. I was having a lot of doubts. And I was asking myself, is this really what my life is going to be like? Like the thought of moving in, it was bringing so much up for me. I was really unhappy. I was almost 30 years old. I had a great job. I had made good money. I was doing something that was, brought me brought me some sense of fulfillment, but I really didn't feel like I was really making a difference in the world. And I can remember wondering, there's got to be more to life than this, right? Just being in this tiny, cramped little bedroom, thinking about moving in with my boyfriend that I'd been dating for 4 years. And we were going to settle into a little cramped place too. And I just thought, there's got to be more. But I had grown up my whole life and I had grown up hearing, go to school, get a good education, land a good job that pays you well, and then find somebody that you're attracted to, that you can enjoy time with, like going out and having a few drinks and, finding, things to adventure on in the weekend and, common things like TV shows that you like. It doesn't have to be too deep. And this is how you become happy, right? So fast forward 6 months from this scene, I'm now crying on my couch. I'm devastated. My heart felt like it had been ripped out of me. So get this, the person that I was going to move in with had left me. They had left me. And this was a turning point for me, truly a turning point. I was deeply saddened. I felt so lonely inside because I didn't know how my life was going to, move forward. I had put all of my joy and happiness in my life into this person and what we were going to build. And yet they didn't want to be with me. And so I deeply wanted to turn away from the world and I just wanted to recluse. And I was being hard on myself. I was judging my body. I was, making it my fault. What had I done? What could I have done better? And it just so happens that a friend noticed this. And she quite literally just dragged me to somebody that she knew that could really help me. And it turned out this person became my mentor for nearly 8 years. And he helped me uncover a lot about myself. what he really did was he helped me get out of this very dark and heavy space. And he helped me understand that I was truly designed to really be of service to others and to use the gifts I had to really help other people awaken to their gifts within themselves. And in our coaching sessions, I really started to build my confidence and get to know my abilities. And I realized I was very powerful and I had a lot of power and that I could do what I loved and loved what I do. I could help people in a very meaningful way and make a difference. And all of a sudden, my joy and happiness really just skyrocketed. And I felt so fulfilled. I felt so on purpose. And I was just, and I've been doing this for almost a decade. I help people really come into their next level of growth and joy and happiness and discovering why they're really here on this planet and, building a way for them to really enjoy themselves and find this happiness in their everyday life. And so I share that because I know that so many of you are either A, where I was, right, in the beginning of that story, or maybe somewhere in between, right? And have these moments where you still kind of question, you know, where do I find my joy? How do I find happiness? What is it in life that really makes me happy? How do I figure this all out, right? Without the added stress and pressure and hard work that our world often says that's necessary in order for us to be happy and feel fulfilled, right? The checklist we're supposed to, kind of tick off the house, the kids, the bank account, the car, right? And all that stuff, then we're happy, right? So I want us to get present after sharing that story, right? Because sometimes it does. It takes meeting one person that shows us a different way to look at ourselves, a different way to be. And it helps us really change our perspective. And it allows us, once that perspective is shifted, to open up to a whole new realm of experiencing life that often within this new experience is the joy, is the happiness we've been seeking for so long. And all it takes is a shift within. So I want to ask you guys, I want to ask everybody who's listening. And if you're online, you can type in if you want to, you can be interactive. But what do you want to achieve personally? Take a moment that will make you happy. What do you really want to achieve right now in your life that you think will make you really happy? And while you're thinking about that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what I used to think happiness was. Obviously from my story, I used to think happy was finding that right person who wanted to settle with me. But even when I did find that person 10 years ago, I'll tell you a secret. I thought I needed to really sacrifice myself in order to please them and make them happy. So that meant that I would be a good partner for them. And I used to think I had to, in tandem to that at my job, at my work, also do that with my boss, bend over backwards to make my boss happy so that I could, rise in the rank and get paid a decent salary to be able to, maintain my cost of living and the things that I, sort of basic and above needed, right? So that I could have enough money in my bank account to be able to get this, things that I felt like were nice, go on a vacation once or twice a year to be happy. I thought I needed to also have, a certain house, things to be a certain way. I had to look a certain way. I had to be a certain shape or size in order to be happy. So that 10 years ago, I was going to the gym sometimes twice a day. I was working super hard. I was, really trying to, do everything possible to get this person to stay with me, to see I was a catch, right? And then lo and behold, to find out none of it worked. None of it worked. That was crushing, right? So now that you're hearing all this, you've asked yourself this question, what is it that I want that would make me happy? What does what I've been sharing with you reveal? What do you start to hear? What are you starting to get present to as I shared all these things about what I thought happiness was? What are you starting to, you yourself, really become aware of? Well, for a lot of people, when I go through this process with them, you know, they often start to say, well, everything was conditional. Elizabeth, you said, if you were better as a partner, if you did more, if you, made them happy, if you kept, things kind of, status quo, didn't ruffle any feathers, right? Then, you'd have happiness, right? So the condition was that you had to be perfect or that you had to be a certain way in order for you to have happiness, right? So that other person could be happy. Is that really happiness? I mean, does it lead to happiness to put such conditions? If we look at another example, okay, so I'm at this certain body weight and shape and size, and I can fit into a certain kind of style of clothes, you know. Um, but once I got into those styles of clothes and I was, going out and being social, thinking that condition was going to bring me my confidence, it actually made me feel a little more insecure. Once I got involved with someone, I started to question my lovability or my worth. Now, is that condition really, working? Is that giving me that happiness? And, if I work super hard and do everything I can to rise the rank at my job, to please my boss, to get the raises, to get more money in my bank account, and then I have my house and my car and my kids and all the things that I love, quote unquote, once I sit inside my house and I look around and my kids, maybe they're upset having a tantrum and I know my partner's disgruntled because they're making dinner and I don't have any time for anyone else. Is that happiness? Is that what we call happiness? So yes, we develop conditions around happiness. It's a very common thing. And I want you guys to start thinking about, I want you to get present to where do these conditions come from? Where are they rooted in? Where do we learn them from? And as you start thinking about that on the commercial break, we're going to come back and dive deeper in.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on TalkRadio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back. This is Elizabeth Tripp. You're listening to Nourish the Soul. And did you know our bodies are the greatest technology we've ever been given? In fact, I believe our heart is the seat of our soul. And as we go inwards and connect to that space within ourselves, we can actually unlock an incredible wealth of wisdom and tap into a power within ourselves that can literally transform the world. These temples, these bodies you're living in tell you when you're not aligned with your joy, with your happiness, with your birthright to live fulfilled, with, your passions and what you came to this planet for. So today we're really deep diving into this question, what is happiness? What is joy? How do we have it? And I was asking you, what is it that you want that you think will make you happy right now? And, as you were getting present to that, I was talking to you about what I thought I wanted that would make me happy. And I was asking you, what does this all reveal? And we started to see that we develop conditions. But before we get into these, actually, I'm just going to keep going forward. So we develop these conditions. And I wanted to ask you, where do we develop them from? Well, take a look around. Take a look around socially, culturally, school and parents, right? How do we develop our own sense of self-worth? Well, we learn it from, what we were modeled growing up, right? We learn it from what we saw. So if we grew up in a home or a household where there was a parent or both parents that, had to prove their worth to others, whether that was to each other or to bosses or socially to peers, then we would often take that framework and implement it within our own life. We would download it, and that's how we would look at life then through that download. And we would say, okay, if when I prove to others that I am good and I'm beautiful and that I'm successful and that, I have all my, ticks on my boxes of what it means to be, a stand-up human being in society, then I'm this, a successful, amazing woman or man, right? And so the drawback of that is that we have to do all this work, though. We have to do everything and anything and all this people pleasing and all this kind of, chameleoning to be something that we think everybody wants in order to finally reach the top of that, mountain that we're climbing for joy and happiness. So often we sacrifice so much of our mental and emotional headspace to obtain something that is so far out in the distance when we look at it from this model. And it's all over the place. I mean, think about it in health and well-being, the magazines, the Instagram, the TikTok, the ways that in which we should eat and look and dress to, to the models within we see in school systems and kind of like the comparison of, oh, you don't have this and you should have that. I've even felt like people really judge a person and how well they can provide a quality type session based on the way their space looks. It's just human condition. But for what I'm saying is that we often come from this place of comparison, of judgment, of kind of looking outwards and needing other people's approval before we can be happy, before we can feel there's a sense of peace and fulfillment within us. So I want you to really get present. When you achieve what you think will make you happy, who do you think you're really making happy? So, for example, if you make your house beautiful and you achieve that, right? Because you've got these Thanksgiving guests coming over, who is that really for? And another example, if you reach this size 8 or this size 6 or this, size 10, you lose all this weight and you get into shape and you fit into that outfit and you go out and you spend time with friends, and you are just, really wanting to, meet somebody, right? Who did you do all that work for? Was it really for you? Did you feel really content with yourself and satisfied? You had to make all those changes? Was it really for you? And when you get all that money in your bank account, right? And you have it all stacked up and it's like, yes, right? And you did it so that you can then provide, right, for your family, right? Take them on nice vacations, but you don't get any time with them. You're working, 12-hour days, 60 hours a week. You were doing all that for who? I mean, it's selfless, yes, totally. But at the cost of what? Because when you're 50, 60, 70 years old, you don't get to go turn back the hands in time and get your health back. Even you notice this when you're 30 and 40, you've got to start prioritizing this now. because time doesn't wait for you to wake up to this. So who are you really doing all these things for so that you can, have what you think will make you happy? Because is doing this for somebody else to make them happy your happiness? Is that how we get it? Is true happiness about proving to others that you're successful, that you're rich, that you're good, that you're a high achiever, that you have, an ability to, be very super disciplined or focused? What if happiness is, and I'm going to read this quote by Lao Tzu. If you look to others for fulfillment, you will never be fulfilled. If your happiness depends on money, you will never be happy with yourself. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there's nothing lacking, the world belongs to you. This weekend, I had an incredible experience. I don't even really know how to put it into words, so I'm going to do the best I can. But I quite literally felt like I, in a very deep meditative state, was being brought up into the heart of Source, into the heart of our Creator. And as I came into the space, I felt this overwhelming sense of love, this unconditional. And this voice said, Elizabeth, no matter the choices you've ever made, I've always loved you. No matter if you've labeled it right or wrong, good or bad, I've always loved you and always will. And it just was this such incredible, expansive, loving, light-filled space. And then as I sat there and I heard, just allow yourself to feel this. You're worthy of my love. There was another sentiment, which quite literally just sounded like, you are always provided for. I give you everything you need. I always take care of you. And I came out of that meditation looking at myself, my world, my life. It feels like completely differently. Because how can anything be lacking if that is my connection in life? And I am no different than any of you. I have a heart, you have a heart. You can place your hand on the heart and affirm that you're aware that there is a light within you and that this light is connected to the heart of Source, heart of Creator, heart of God, heart of infinite intelligence. And you can feel that just like I can too. So I am not any better or have any more wisdom than you do. You and I are very much the same. It's this dedication to going into our heart, to cultivating this relationship with Source, to where we can expand into these vibrational experiences within a deep inner temple communion and realize Source takes care of us always. Our breath, our life here on planet Earth, the trees, nature, our food sources, our shelters, our relationships. It places us in the right places with the right people and things to help us continually evolve, to continue to grow and learn. You have not been born defective or unworthy of any of this. It is our belief in this that allows for us to receive the greatest joy that Source has for us, which is to provide, to take care of, and unconditionally love all of us. But we often, within our own mental construct, make our joy and happiness so conditional on things. In fact, happiness is interestingly something we learn from somewhere. Yeah, it's something we learn from somewhere. How we grew up at home influence us majorly. If we didn't have a lot, The second we probably got some, we wanted to buy nice things so that we felt like we had what we were missing or lacking when we were growing up, right? It's common sense, right? And yet we don't realize that we're kind of perpetually kind of growing this vortex of energy of more, 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 more. And we can do it in spirituality too. It's like, we can keep thinking, oh, if I reach this next level, then I'll be happy and fulfilled. And if I see this great new big teacher, I'll be happy and fulfilled, right? But the funny thing that Source was showing me is that, it just wants us to believe in ourselves. And it will guide us to the right people and the right teacher and the right person who has the wisdom in which we can receive it to begin to start to accept truly who we are, which is no different than the awareness that I got from this weekend, this deep meditation that you have within yourself. You are a spark of divinity. You have the heart of the divine within you. All of us do. And that's what binds us together. That's what creates this shared experience we call what is humanity. Because our minds create the separation, like, we lack something, that we don't have what we need, that we always have to be running this rat race and working so hard to achieve it. And yes, this is what this life is like. But it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. Because once we realize, okay, our society, our culture, our parents, everything is setting us up for this whole paradigm that happiness is conditional, we can actually change it. We can change it. Because what if happiness was just as simple as like having a cup of tea by the fire and breathing deeply into your body temple and connecting to that source of light within you? And you wouldn't have to buy anything or change anything or fix anything about you. You could just quite literally go into that space just as you are right now. What if that is happiness? So we're going to dive deeper as we go into the last segment here. Thanks so much. We're going to take a quick break.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on TalkRadio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on TalkRadio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back. I'm Elizabeth Tripp. This is Nourish the Soul talk radio show and podcast. If you ever miss an episode, you can check us out on Spotify and iHeart and Amazon, on all major podcasting platforms. You can check out our other episodes as well. But we're talking about awaken joy, unlock true happiness. And I really wanted to just be very clear, in helping you see happiness is a state of being. It's not necessarily an action. It's a choice we get to make. And something I want you to all get aware of is that we all have different perceptions of what happiness is. What's happy to me may not be happy to you. So that, the idea of sitting with a tea by the fire and breathing into your heart center, you could be like, well, that's so like uncomfortable. But it could also be just your feet in the sand, looking out at the ocean, watching the waves roll in. It could be, maybe seeing your kid play soccer and just like tumble and roll and giggle the whole time. It could be just holding a newborn baby or having a new puppy or kitten at home. Everybody's happiness is going to be different. But what we want to really help us see tonight is the way we've learned how to define happiness. How we've learned that the happiness is defined through other people's perceptions, that perhaps we've taken on how our culture or our peers have understood happiness, or our parents or ancestors. And that doesn't necessarily have to work for you. It's not a plug and play type thing. Happiness doesn't work like that. Happiness is something we get to choose, we get to create, we get to tap into, and we're like, what really lights me up? So, another question as we start to round out today's episode is, whose happiness have you been living? Yours or somebody else's? Maybe you're starting to realize you took on some of the cultural paradigm of happiness, some of what we see in the TV or movies, some of what we maybe even took on growing up as kids, or that we, allowed to influence us as we went through our schooling years. So just get present. What is your current conversation of happiness? And if you didn't have what you had written down in the beginning of this radio show, could you still be happy? Right? If you didn't have the car, if your house wasn't perfect, if you didn't have all the money in your bank account, if you didn't have the partner, if let's say there was something that you felt like you really wanted, again, just reiterating, you didn't have it, right? Could you still be happy? Could you choose happiness? And then what really stops you then from being happy? What really stops us? And I want you to really get present to that, because what's coming to surface is everything that we have been conditioned to associate happiness with. That you have to have certain things in place before you can feel joy, that things have to be, working in a certain order before you can feel happy, that everything has to be, already, in have circumstantial evidence for us to feel like we can be happily successful, right? I see that with a lot of new business owners, like entrepreneurs, like, well, how can I be happy if I have no clients? Well, happiness is the path to more clients. If we're joyful, if we're finding joy within our day, if we're remembering we get to choose that, we even write out a list of the things that make us happy, whether that's a walk in nature, whether that's, a loving talk with our partner, whether it's connecting with a family member or finding quiet time on the couch, literally, if we connect to that happiness, we're going to bring more people towards us. We're going to be more of a magnet for the vibration of people seeking what we have. So unhappy people aren't going to seek out an unhappy person to get advice from, right? So we want to be really recognizing that, right? And same thing goes for, people are going to feel your unhappiness and kind of be repelled. They're not maybe going to want to spend a lot of time in your presence because they can feel that. So you want to be coming up with your own version of happiness. This is where you get to be 100% free. What is happy? Maybe it's dancing around in your pajamas in the morning to some music, having a second or third cup of coffee because that just really makes you happy. And no judgment. Maybe it is redecorating a space in your home and doing it for you, though, not for anybody else, because it really lights you up and it makes you really happy. And that feeling of, it's clean, neat, and organized. And maybe going to the gym and exercising and eating good, limiting those sugars. Maybe that truly does just really up level your sense of joy, your feeling of being happy. Because as you generate more happiness, your cells, every cell within your body actually responds because it's its own universe. So it responds to your joy and it actually brings the cell back into harmony, which is its natural state of being. The cell loves to be in harmony. It loves to feel that harmonious, balanced state. And that's what we call health. That's what we call well-being. So if we're struggling with our health and well-being, we are likely struggling with some sense of feeling of being unhappy, of our happiness being conditional or attached to something. And that's where someone like myself can come in. So I want you to get present and just, really take some time and define that. But I want to tell you something very important. I've been doing this work for about 10 years now. It's just incredible the shifts that I see. But recently, about 6 months ago, Spirit guided me. I was going to work with a client. I was going on location. So I left my house. I was going up to see her at a different location. And on the plane ride there, I got this insight. It was like, do a hypnosis regression. And I was like, well, I've never done that. I haven't been trained. But I had my own regression experiences. And they said, we'll help you. So I was like, okay, I trust, I do a lot of pretty good work and just trusting. So I said, okay. So I went and I had this on location experience. And in the session, I was guided to bring this client into a regression. And in that regression, something really deep and powerful showed up. I mean, the insights and the wisdom that showed up were far beyond what either of us expected. And it sparked something in me. And I knew I had to take this further. So recently I actually got trained in this modality and I'm really happy to say that I'm a certified hypnosis regressionist. And so what I'm doing now is I'm coupling my heart-centered soul coaching, and I'm offering this really unique blend of some quantum healing hypnosis and heart-centered soul coaching to be able to really help us get into, when we need to, these more deeper layers within our subconscious. Sometimes we don't even realize that the reason why we're unhappy is because maybe our physical environments or something within our partnerships or within our work life situations are bringing up emotional imprints and things from past, not even from this life, but past lifetimes. And often in these states of awareness, in this hypnosis trance-like state that I am bringing people into from time to time in my work, we get a whole new perspective of what was really been going on in their life, how to connect it to other significant lifetimes and clear it through the assistance of different types of very high vibrational light beings. So I want to offer that as just an insight into some of the cool work I do. I very rarely, share myself on my own podcast, but I wanted to share that because I know that the holidays is one of the biggest points in the year where joy, 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 and happiness is kind of just like pushed into our sphere of awareness. But often in our own subconscious minds, we can resist it. And we can find ways to attach our perception of this time of year from past experiences that may have been unpleasant, that may have, not have been the most wonderful, or even the longing for what was to be here now, but it's not. And so a lot can come up from us, long story short. And so if you want support, please know I'm always here, because it is my greatest joy to be of service to others, to really walk them through as a guide on their journey in this life to new understandings of themselves, new horizons of what's possible, and bring back that sense of happiness and joy within them, reclaim that connection to their inner temple, their heart, and then embrace a new sense of empowerment in their life to do what they love and love what they do, because happiness is something you get to create. It's a state of being, it's not an action, and it's not conditional. It's something that you actually can create by choosing, what does happiness mean to me? Not what does everybody else think happiness is. So I hope that you all got so much from tonight's podcast. Re-listen to it, answer those questions, go through these exercises, find your joy. And until I see you next, namaste. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.